it into an amazing graphic if you really just put your mind to it. You just got to make the concept. And I think maybe B&K weren't storyboarding with that Nautilus pick. They just kind of winged it.
I'm hoping that Edo was back there with a tablet out, scribbling things down, saying like it's just a picture of Summoner's Rift saying, we have to kill this thing at the other end, guys. Figure out a way to do it, and maybe the first step is putting Diablo on a champion that's real. Maybe that's going to be a good move. As here we go, he's not going to be playing center this time around, and maybe we're going to have a different result. But first, they're going to have to get through a Gen G that do definitely look like they are back on the right page in this particular series, at least. Definitely.
Mentioning the international hangover, perhaps Gen G just have a little bit more experience recovering. Yeah,
they're just older. Maybe it's just, you know, the liver's a little bit more like practiced or something like that.
Let's see what the second match will be. Okay, this makes sense because it's Chovy, and he has definitely been the player that's looked towards the Aurora more than anyone else right now.
Not to mention Keen, pretty good at it too.
That's a really good shout. And, you know, Karma's gone, the Nocturne is gone, obviously the Yunara is gone, so maybe you just ban Ashe here if you are Gen G and you're looking for another prio pick.
Yeah, you could just take the Azir then, in theory, if it doesn't get banned away. And I don't think it's quite as punishable this time around, although Vikla, I guess, could go to something like a LeBlanc that we have seen picked into it, even if it didn't work earlier on. The LeBlanc is just going to be banned.
So now they get either the Azir or the Ashe. So...
yeah, I think it has to be an Azir ban, right?
The Azir is somewhat protected because there's no Aurora, there's no LeBlanc here, and I don't know if I would trust Vikla to beat Chovy's Azir with Yone.
Wait a second.
Or Akali.
He did solo kill him on Akali. That did happen.
Yeah, that is a thing that did occur.
They're gonna maybe go for it. Let's see. I'm gonna write Azir down.
I want to write Ashe down.
Oh.
I think if you go Ashe here, Chovy can play so many picks into Vikla's Azir, and then you get Ashe Seraphine for perma bottom side control.
I do think counterpick is very strong.
Oh, Rumble is up! Okay,
oh my
never
God.
mind. All right, sorry.
Okay.
I apologize to everyone.
All right, yeah.
I apologize to everyone. It's always banned. It wasn't in my mind.
I'm going to write that one down instead.
Oh,
this is the first time it's got through. It took until
so now we're
what
later.
Could be the last game in the last series of the week, and Rumble finally gets through, and it's Keen. If anyone's allowed to play Rumble, it should not be Keen.
Honestly, though, with Rumble alone in Game 2, kind of like Ashe Seraphine.
I mean, honestly, surround sounds pretty good into the equalizer.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. The movement speed, obviously shielding is going to be pretty useful, and you don't have to lock the Ashe right away. You can go for the Seraphine and grab a jungler frontline that can extend your encore really well. In the past, we saw a lot of Mundo, but right now it's looking more Xin Zhao favored.
Yep, I like this.
Rumble has always been strong.
And it's Canyon. He's pretty good at the buy. I wonder whether they do... oh, never mind. It's going to be a Caitlyn pick away instead.
Caitlyn into the Seraphine.
Caitlyn Bud.
This is a big statement lock-in here for Ruler and Duro. It's not unwinnable, but
I think it's going to be a hard lane.
Yeah. For a brief moment, I was like, did they go Caitlyn Ashe like the old T1 days? But no.
Not this time.
Ashe support has been nerfed to the ground, so... Ezreal?
Ezreal is not Ashe.
No.
But would be a little bit more mobile.
Able to get out of the equalizer with a press of an E button.
I guess so. Seraphine Ezreal.
Lane is as challenging anymore for Gen G.
I feel like it's been the third pick for B&K Fearex that has been a problem. It was the Nautilus last time. And now it is an Ezreal instead of an Ashe. And I mean, I understand why you don't want to be playing Ashe, just because, you know, you can get locked down and you have that lack of mobility and blah, blah, blah. But I still think that you don't have as much value as the Ashe Seraphine lane. There's still follow-up. Like, True Shot Barrage can still have a lot more value than it otherwise would with the amount of lockdown that you get from the Encore beat drop and things like that. But it's just not the same thing. As Wukong going to be taken off.
Wukong is a really good ban here. There's no Nocturne, which is also paired really well with Rumble. And I don't think Trundle works very well here into Seraphine, just because he kind of he runs at you, he has a pillar, closing the gap is really challenging when Seraphine can just make sure that you can't get anywhere close to anybody. So I don't think they're as worried about that pick, which has been one of those later in Fearless answers to the Xin Zhao. And they also banned Ornn, so I think they're not really that interested. Vi was still up, so that makes a lot of sense. Now Canyon's pool is thinned out a little bit.
But now do they get to ban Ornn and Cassante? Do they ban Ornn Galio instead? You could do that. Galio Xin Zhao is actually a decent combo.
Yeah, I do think that's actually a really good shout from you. I don't think he'll be playing it top lane either, but could be a smart one. Could empower Diablo further and is a great setup for the Encore.
I do think that Clear would prefer to play Cassante. I feel like that'd be his thing, but instead the Akali going to be taken away.
Kind of reminding everyone that Azir is still on the table.
Yep. And now Vikla probably more likely to play it, but instead the Cassante will be locked in.
He really wants to have counter pick here. The Cassante is great with Seraphine. He's already so difficult to kill, and is again going to be another one of those setup picks for the Encore. Still would have loved Ashe here more. You know, when the top is coming together, I'm like, man, Ashe would have been so good here.
I agree. However, it's not here.
Skarner!
Okay. We have seen a little bit of Skarner elsewhere.
I think Skarner's pretty hard into Seraphine, but he's got enough mobility to maybe make it work. I was actually kind of thinking about Kindred in this draft, but I suppose Graves is a similar idea.
That would be
You have a lot of magic damage. You want some extra upfront damage.
Well, he's just going to lock to Skarner.
These two champs couldn't be more different in terms of what they're doing for the draft.
Yep. I believe Skarner was played in the LCS earlier today. I could be wrong. It was very early in the morning.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that was, in fact, true.
And it went pretty well.
I didn't see the game, but I think I saw a tweet about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Mel going to be the consideration here for Vikla, though. Certainly a few things that you can rebut. Let's see how it is going to go.
Yeah, I think
Genji's composition is looking pretty scary.
More than the rebuttal, I think they're just kind of concerned with the fact that this Ezreal's damage output is a little bit conditional, and there's a lot of frontline to block the Ezreal damage in this Skarner now, and he's outranged in terms of auto attacks by the Caitlyn. So it's really tough. You wanted an extra source of damage, and Mel, to me, has kind of been the Victor replacement right now in this meta for just late-game consistent damage. The Execute is really powerful, does damage across the team if you can apply all of your skills, and she does ramp up to a 3-item spike really nicely. And they have a front line to support it, right, with the Xin Zhao and the Cassante, not to mention the Seraphine will help out quite a bit. I just kind of look at what Genji have, and I'm like, man, that Tempered Fate Impale sounds really rough.
Yeah, that's going to get some flashes.
Trigar makes it back in. The scary thing for the Skarner is that if he just gets rooted when he's trying to do anything, then he doesn't do it. He just kind of gets stopped and he can't keep going. So that's, Seraphine's pretty good at the Skarner.
That is a good point. But I do think that this is a pretty robust team composition. There are, like, it is the triple threat composition with the Azir. It's not what we kind of have grown to hate, which is, you know, top lane not really doing too much and then relying on Azir for a lot of the damage in team fights. It's going to be a different story here. Genji looking pretty comfortable, and FearX, they're going to have to prove us wrong with this Ezreal Seraphine.
미니언들이 생성되었습니다.
All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, onto the Rift for game number 2 and possibly the final game of the week. Let's see whether FearX can bring us at least to a third. That would be a whole lot of fun.
I hope so. I think the draft is creative. The Ashe, you know, we'll think about it next time.
Yeah, we'll just pretend that it was fearlessly banned, and that'll make us feel less weird.
The Skarner pick here for Canyon is, I talked about how it can get rooted. It's kind of hard to root him if you don't know which direction he's coming from because he can go through walls and his engage range is really quite high. So maybe it doesn't matter. We'll have to wait and see. You know, Peanut's gone, so somebody's got to pick up the slack and play Skarner when it's off meta.
Yep. And I mean, Canyon was playing this a lot. In a lot of the compositions that we really didn't like from Genji was when they just pick potato tanks and just kind of win anyway. This time around, at least Keen is on the Rumble. He's on his money printer. and is very, very happy about the situation. Although right now we can see he's getting shoved in momentarily, and here's a bit of a fight towards the bottom side. Ruler getting the better end of it, as we can see.
Ruler's kind of chilling here. He's like, if you guys want to force it.
That was an arcane shift as Diablo taking a lot of damage. Barrier comes in. Peacemaker not exactly doing that much as Ruler throws down a barrier of his own. There is a lot being thrown around. Both heals and barriers have now been removed, but there are flashes still up.
Diablo's E's going to come back up, so I don't think Ruler can flash on him here, but he definitely thought about it. And the observers are making sure that doesn't happen, as Raptor is going to come down here, but Canyon is already on the bottom side.
Yeah, Canyon with decent defensive vision here as well, as he does pull his Bramble back away. As you can see, though, certainly respecting the Xin Zhao, who just comes on over and steals away his stuff.
Really nice wind becomes lightning timing there to get those minis.
Yep. Well, looks like Raptor is just going to move down towards the bottom lane.
Yeah,
Gen G realize it.
Just going to be him coming over here and keeping Ruler and Duro honest, and Canyon cannot fight the Xin Zhao 1v1, so...
He does have the smite advantage, but it's going to lose patience and will be leaving the area.
Raptor has been so good at just being annoying in early games. Like, this is his patented thing. He's kind of like Peanut in this regard, where he knows where the pressure points are, he knows how to exploit them. Now he's going to come in onto Chovy.
Yeah, Chovy doesn't get hit by the snare, so he's going to be all right, as Canyon will be able to take his red buff.
And we mentioned he likes to play this.
He's quite good at the Skarner. Raptor going to be over on his bottom lane Scuttle Crab, though, and that will be equalized here by Canyon in a few moments. Still, it is a decent play from Raptor to make sure that he had full information as to what Canyon was doing, as Kane just netting himself a bit of extra gold.
Every non-Caitlyn champion on Gen G has a multi-man, high-impact CC. So when you think about how Gen G can team fight, they have Peel with the Azir.
And Rumble CC Death?
Oh, sorry, I just meant AoE.
Ah, got it.
AoE is what I meant to say. AoE, high about power abilities, and like Caitlyn's Q kind of, I guess, works with that as well. But like, you have the Emperor's Divide, you have Impale, you have the Rumble Ultimate to layer on top of all that CC, right? You have Tempered Fate. And so the Rumble Ultimate can kind of just be CC to death, as you were alluding to, and
it's the best CC.
I think that that's one of the scary things about this comp for BNK is there's just so many ways that team fight can go wrong, even though the Ezreal is inherently safe. And Vikla has high range as well to poke. If you mess up your positioning even one time, and your whole squad gets caught, or even just one member, like Raptor gets pulled back, Crescent Guard doesn't save him, and then you're fighting 5v4, it's just going to be so incredibly hard in the late game. And even in mid-game scraps, frankly, because they're going to have those at level 6.
Yeah. I think it's a really scary composition to deal with. Right now, FearX are at least in touching distance as far as money is concerned. It's only about 100 difference between the two squads, but I don't think that Gen G are really trying to win in the laning phase, right? It's not one of these compositions that is really too worried about it. As Ruler is kind of proving it now, walking up towards Diablo and Kellen. B-Drop does do a fair bit of work there, as Kellen is looking a little worse for wear, but right now you can see Diablo very healthy. And that is always scary. He's ready to arcane shift forward, and Canyon is there to catch him if he does decide to do so. It's a bit of a scary moment here, as let's see whether Diablo does bite off more than he can chew.
I see Canyon, like he just cleared a ward, and Diablo's going in.
Oh dear, don't know about that one. As the beat drop not going to quite find the mark. Duro is at least able to collect a chime on his way out. But
I think they wanted to bait because Raptor was coming down, and they thought, okay, we have enough of an advantage here in this lane that we could force this and maybe bait them in. But it is going to turn into Dragon Prio. And so, even though it was very scary for Diablo there, he did not get hit by the Cosmic Binding. And so he's just kind of chilling, and they're going to start this Dragon. Canyon could look for a steal, gets the reveal. I don't think he should.
No.
We've seen it before, though.
He's just going to throw some things at him, as that will be the Drake secured by FearX.
For those LCK Cup Finals enjoyers, Canyon stole quite a lot from Raptor.
Yeah. He also, like, you know, steals things with a Jarvan flag and stuff like that in certain games. But not today. Not going to be throwing a rock at a Drake or anything like that to take it down. Raptor with his smite button working very effectively. Chovy good sidestep here, as Vikla is going to get punished. And Furex, they do lose out on a bit of gold, but at least getting that Drake going to be great news as Vikla misses yet another ability. Chovy feeling a little bit better about this whole situation, but the minion wave evaporates, and the Azir is just going to have to walk back towards the turret. Some Coco at the ready.
To be fair, it is really hard to hit the snare on Mel. It's really slow moving.
That is a good point.
And Chovy is just really fast moving in terms of his reaction time. But good dodge again. And Vikla, if he hits that, maybe there's an angle because Kellen's nearby, but Chovy actually evens up the CS.
Yep, and Impale now online here for Canyon. He is doing his second clear now. As Clear is doing a great job here towards the top side, actually very even on farm, building towards that Rook Urn once again. One of the reasons why the Cassante is pretty happy in this matchup, does really like it when he gets to build that item first, can kind of ignore the Rumble a lot of the time. But I think Keen is still just going to be so scary elsewhere in this game and can sort of cheat tempo a lot with equalizers around the map as well.
Even though Diablo and Kellen have constantly been harassing and trying to push through, they're not generating a CS advantage. As you can see, it's actually a pretty hefty lead for Ruler, who has obviously 50 cull stacks of extra gold in his inventory as well. So, you know, they're going to again get ganked here.
Hang on. Canyon making his way in, gets the flash into the wall. There's the Impale. The Encore comes in, but I think they're very happy to play that song again. Not going to lie to you. That is going to be first blood going over to Gen G. Clear walking on the equalizer, isn't too worried about it. Does have the all-out still available as we have a look at this fight continuing. And yeah, that Negatron Cloak and the Null Magic Mantle working out here for Clear, as he's not taking that much from the Flame Spitter.
Notice neither B&K member ends up flashing here, so Furex just unable to react. And I think what they didn't account for was the magical journey, because you think about Skarner as, okay, if he's going to come from this far away, we're going to see him coming because he's going to come through the wall, but he magical journeyed into a flash push into the wall there.
Yeah, it's the flash smash Impale. It's just really difficult to do anything to it.
And there's control vision, right, in that tri-brush, so the ability for Canyon to engage from that far away is pretty insane, and they just did not respect that possibility, as Canyon's got his safety harness on now as well, so even more difficult to kill. That item kind of coming back a little bit. It was really strong at the beginning of the year, and everyone was talking about it, then it took a bit of a dip with the nerf, and now it's
still mega efficient.
Yeah.
Right? Just good stats for not very much money. As Diablo still able to get some damage down here. This man will not stop Arcane shifting forward. But Gen G, they just pick up the minions. You can see after that, about a 700 gold lead, 6.5, I guess, for Ruler.
They know Canyon is on these grubs, so they really want to force, but there's vision and more vision. And yes, they can keep Ruler off this turret, but I don't think they can kill him.
They should at least. Yeah, the zoning is going to be a big deal, though. That is good to do. I just don't know exactly how much they're going to lose elsewhere on the map.
Canyon's
Canyon
coming.
making his way down,
Yeah,
exactly right.
He's like, I'm not going to leave my bottom lane out to dry. It'll take me a little while, but I will show up. And Tempered Fate can buy some more time for him to get there. They need to be respectful.
There it is, the flash out from Kellen. That's the one that he kept available after that initial gank, but it does mean that now the Seraphine is certainly killable, and Canyon does not care about walls. Kellen going to have to be so incredibly careful as Ruler dealing with these minion waves. There's a magical journey as Canyon moves up towards taking down this control ward, and Kellen will live for now. As in the meantime, Raptor is dealing with this Scuttle Crab. Should be the one to take that one down, as the Boulder Toss not quite enough to get there.
This is going to get a little bit scrappy here. Duro doesn't have ult, but he's somewhat nearby, and Azir just TP'd back in. Chovy is going to push Vikla back. And I think eventually Gen G will relinquish this position, but it looked like they wanted to force something knowing Kellen wasn't here. Speaking of...
Yeah, great Cosmic Binding there from Duro, but he still heals to get out of the way of Raptor, who is very scary. Walking over towards the Raptors. Will not be able to take them away from Canyon this time.
A very slow start to this game with that really cool gank from Canyon onto Diablo, but otherwise it has been pretty even. Diablo's been pushing this lane in, trying to get advantages. Has 2 plates to his name because of Canyon taking the grubs right and Raptor kind of camping the lane. And now they're looking for a 2 Drake lead here. I think we're going to see a big fight for this, though.
Yeah, Canyon moving on in. This time probably not going to be giving this one away as the rock lands. And Duro doesn't have his Tempered Fate available, but that Cosmic Binding is still very scary, and Vikla needs to hit a few of these buttons. They want to make something happen. Ruler is now pushing Diablo out of the way. And Tri-Brush control is going to be there. There's the engage. The encore's fantastic as the Crescent Guard pushes Ruler to the grave. And now the Impale onto Raptor. The Canyon is just going to die. The Magical Journey to try and bring them out as Chovy goes in and has to flash to get into the Magical Journey. Keen a little bit too late to the party, and the Drake belongs to FearX. They are back in control.
Fantastic engage on the Ruler. He is just unable to outplay it. And once he's caught there, he can only barrier and try to net away, which he does very quickly react to, but just too much, too quickly. It's been the name of the game on killing 80 carries in this game, but it's Blast Cone in, and then the Encore comes through. There's nothing he can do. He barriers and nets away, but he is just dead. Canyon tries to buy time here. It's a Xin Zhao he grabs, though. No way to kill that one. As low as Raptor goes here with the Equalizer coming through, he's still able to help secure this Dragon. Chovy has to flash, as you pointed out, to get in the Magical Journey, so he's not really going to be feeling good about the end of this fight either, and it's a 2 Drake lead. It is Ocean Soul, which is very sad for BNK fans, but a lot of gold was given in that fight as well, and now we're dead even.
And also, for a composition like this, like it's a Mel comp, you know, you're kind of valuing exchanges that go on for a really long time. And with a Seraphine, you can certainly elongate them, and so you'll get a lot more ocean value than you otherwise could. It is, of course, clutching at straws just a little bit. It's not the greatest, but it's not Chemtech.
Yeah, he
so
likes a
that.
little ocean.
Yeah.
Here, the real news is they got 2 relevant individual elemental dragons as well.
True.
So that's going to feel really good for Cassante and for the damage dealers here with that extra AP that's going to come through for Vikla and the AD for Diablo there. So, you know, it's not all for nothing.
Certainly not.
And this is one of the first games we've seen in a while where Ruler actually finds himself in a deficit here because of that kill going over to Diablo early on.
Yeah, and that means that Diablo is going to get far more relevance, because right when Caitlyn gets not as strong, the Ezreal gets extraordinarily strong. And maybe that's actually a reason why they went for the Ezreal, just so that they'll have that incredible mid-game timing for Diablo to be really strong. It's actually a decent way to play around it. Get yourself a good lead, and with these dragons that they already have stacked up, certainly work out, and they've got through the laning phase pretty fine.
I like the build here from Vikla as well, going for Ludens, because with how this comp can work, obviously there's a lot of scaling, there's a lot of damage that's going to come through from him late game wise. The AP is going to feel good, but also they're kind of playing it like a pick comp with Kellen right now, and punishing the Skarner or anybody else they can find, that extra damage is really going to feel great as Chovy, no flash, is just going to get out of here.
Yeah, that's the shift the Sands. Raptor is pretty scary on this. Xin Zhao has full boots as well as his first item complete. Sundered Sky feels fantastic. Certainly a lot more expensive than what Canyon has put together thus far.
Canyon's a real setup threat, but Raptor's just a threat in this game. Yeah. He will kill almost anyone, and he could fight Canyon straight up toe-to-toe.
And it's a Xin Zhao with an Enchanter as well, so even later on in the game, he's going to be very powerful.
Absolutely. Echo's already done here for Kellen in this game. It's a close game, man. You know, after watching game 1, you could really feel how a pitiful draft is going to fare against Gen.G versus what a more robust draft is. Again, no Ashe here, which left us a little bit sad, but still, BNK keeping this game interesting.
Ooh, Raptor and Vikla moving up. Chovy, realizing that he was in a little bit of danger, should be able to take some Sand Soldiers to get himself out of there, and that is going to be successful for now. Gen.G moving over towards this Rift Herald at the moment, but they're closing in. Kellen and Diablo moving in from the mid lane.
Chovy's dodging everything this game.
He's certainly wanting to win. I think getting a 2-0 would be so important here for Gen.G to get back onto the right foot. But FearX right now with control of Shelly. Equalizer goes down onto Kellen mainly, and they have split up the team. Crescent Guard comes in as Chovy looks for a bit of an angle, but Emperor's Divide still up and available. There's the crash into the wall under the Cassante, and Clear is likely to be going down. Still, they managed to get the Rift Herald, and Keen is trying to do what he can to get even more. Down goes Raptor. And the Rift Herald was actually put down in the middle of the pit.
I think he was hoping to use it to get out, but he unfortunately was unable to do so.
Huh.
Like
That looked weird.
I think he tried to flash, drop Herald, and then take the Herald out.
Aha, that would have been cute.
But it did not work. This placement of the Equalizer isn't maximizing damage, but it keeps Kellen away from setting up an encore.
Actual zoning Equalizer,
yeah, it was
Wolf?
actually really cool, and Kellen can't get in and be relevant here. Raptor picks up the eye, and as Clear buys time here, Raptor flashes, and then tries to drop the Herald to get out, but he just dies so quickly to the Rumble. I can't really see the angle on this one.
Well, I was half expecting Shelly to drop another eye after that one happened, but she ultimately just doesn't do much of anything at all, as Vikler is in a really awkward spot. He's going to get impaled and pushed southward. That's a decent rebuttal there to get him to safety as Raptor's going in, but Chovy is in the vicinity. Vikler is certainly killable, has to be so careful here, but the rest of FearX are grouped up, and they have Kellen with all of that support available. Throwing around a bunch of buttons, but Gen.G a little bit live on the footwork. They're able to avoid a lot of it.
If he could TP back in, he could be relevant in this fight, but the margins are just too thin. They're already on the Dragon.
Still, there's a lot of vision here for FearX.
Oh, he's denied.
Equalizer, yeah, that gets him out once again.
That's no Equalizer, though.
Yeah. Still, there's going to be no Mel, which is also going to be a problem. First rate goes over to Gen.G as Raptor is going to get caught out. There is the Crescent Guard to try and keep him alive, but it is not going to work as Canyon just smashes him against the wall. Chovy gets a flash with his Emperor's Divide, and Gen.G looking like they're starting to do no wrong.
If B&K were able to buy a little bit more time, or if Vikler doesn't get stopped, I think there's maybe a real angle to fight that. Imagine if they had a Rift Herald right here as well, but they used it to try to escape. Raptor's dead anyways, so I suppose it wouldn't have it, but either way, Gen.G in such a phenomenal position in this game right now.
Yeah, Snare connects here onto Canyon, but he isn't too worried about it. Pretty tanky on this Skarner for now. And having a look down at the money, I mean, the money printer Rumble is certainly working out here, making a lot of it from a bunch of extra kills, though, as we can see. 2-0-1 and has the largest lead in the game.
This block on Vikler's back is so huge, but then also Diablo just doesn't really have great targets to hit, and Clear is tanking, right? They're trying to set up the steal, or the secure rather, which would be a steal, and he just can't do it, right? And then the Tempered Fate comes through, he's isolated, and Kellen, all he could do here is just try to peel for the rest of his team to get away. Good flash here, but he still has to use it. And Vikler just TPs back to the bottom lane. That was a huge play from Keen to shut him out. I think they're still in a favorable spot, even if he comes back, but maybe they could actually get something. Maybe they could make that a real fight. But just completely denied.
And it's also a real gold lead now. 3,000 is quite a big deal. And the gold leads are there for absolutely everyone, of course. A pretty small one for Chovy. We mentioned already 1.6k for Keen is a huge problem with the first Rumble that's been allowed. And speaking of which, he is going to make his way in. Vikler taking half of his health bar just from the Equalizer, but Keen should be taken. Never mind, he's got an arm guard. They take down the Seraphine though, and Keen only delays the inevitable as Chovy goes in. The rebuttal is good, but Raptor is taken down so incredibly low. Still, Chovy is in very, very dire straits. Still, they cannot get to him. The wind becomes lightning, doesn't quite work. Ruler trying to kite this one out as Clear almost tags him with the Q. And now Vikler with the damage. Should he be able to get there? The answer is no. As somehow, no! Clear is going to make the sacrifice, but then Diablo dies anyway. As Drew with a magical journey, it was very, very weird. Vikler stays alive, but he's the only one that does so.
That might have been the backbreaker, but
oh my goodness.
Diablo's a sicko, man. That was crazy. Ruler still stands firm and has a strong team around him and a frontlining Skarner, which does eventually go down. But Diablo, he really min-maxed that fight and had a lot of help. But that's the kind of moment for FearX where you're like, okay, this team definitely has some really high potential. Imagine if they weren't 3,000 gold behind. This fight from Keen wasn't really about it. The Equalizer, pretty low value here, wants to try to set up Chovy, and he just dies, straight up. And this is, of course, because of the passive here from Vikler procking. He just gets burst down before he can do anything out of Equalizer. And then Clear starts to split this fight up. And then watch Diablo here. He is just like, nah, I don't think they get out. And he avoids Canyon here, does a ton of damage, and then decides, I'm going in onto Ruler. I'm going to burst him down. And the heal comes through, and Ruler is able to stand his ground here. Then the block comes through as well from Clear, as Diablo then gets behind him. He still dies. Pretty impressive stuff, though, from the young AD carry. but they're just so far behind at this point, it is really hard to team fight. Do see the turret go down. Well, at least there's something.
Canyon was thinking about an opportunity here. As
Clear?
Clear is on a heck of a flank angle, and Ruler is just going to get eviscerated. Canyon picks them up and then puts them back down. Diablo is able to avoid the Tempered Fate as well. And with Duro and Canyon here, they're not offering damages. Never mind. Duro's still going to flash in. Chovy not going to take that Shifting Sands, though that would be a dangerous one. And with no flash, it was not a guaranteed divide.
Keen didn't have teleport, so he wasn't able to join this clown fiesta that was happening in the mid lane. And frankly, he's probably like, I'm really glad they're not pinging me to TP in. This is a really good way to punish the fact that Ruler doesn't have flash, right?
Oh, yeah.
And they, like, I don't know how else to call it, but a hard force, but it works. And then Duro comes over here trying to make something of this, but Diablo can shift out. And Chovy, like you said, going in here would have been disastrous. Gen G playing a little fast and loose, but BNK just really playing incredibly confidently despite the deficit, and it allows them to maybe have a window back into this game. I'm not going to say that they do just yet, but a few more of these small advantages picked up by them, and
I tell you what, I'm starting to become a bit more of a believer in this Ezreal pick, though, because Diablo's doing a whole bunch of work in this game so far. It's not quite working as far as a victory is concerned just yet, but another Drake is up and available, another opportunity for Soul Point here for FearX. And Canyon not wanting to allow this to happen. Decent snare comes through for Vikler, and the longer these fights go, the more value the Mel will have.
Both Mel and Ezreal love long fights because they get just poked so hard.
Yeah, and there's the flash in from Raptor, gets on top of Chovy. There's the Emperor's Divide to push him back. Clear does not care about your walls. Still, Chovy gets himself to relative safety as a tiny little magical journey comes in, and the Mel able to get a bunch of damage. The Q from Clear is so strong, and Ruler is just any hit from death, but will be able to stay alive at least for now, but he is not fighting anymore, and FearX just bully them out of the river.
They're just out team fighting Gen G right now. They're finding their targets. They're playing confidently. Down 4,000 gold against Gen G. 2 back-to-back wins. They're going to get this Soul Point. This is an incredible game here for BNK. They have not secured a comeback yet by any means, but they're making this game look like it's even, or maybe even that they're ahead with how they're playing this. Now watch this angle here onto Chovy that they find. Chovy's up here looking for an angle to Emperor's Divide. He gets the Emperor's Divide defensively. Clear still goes through it, pulls him out of the fight. The Raptor puts up Crescent Guard, and now Viklo's like, if I get a big ult here, you are all dead.
Oh,
and then watch Clear get this Q3. Watch Ruler's barrier. He barely lives. One auto away would have procced the passive to kill him. Pops a barrier at the exact right moment to survive here, but still a huge win for BNK. Get that Soul Point, and Chovy was just kidnapped in that fight, straight up. He has not died this game, which is impressive, but he's struggling to make the impact that a 3-0, 3-0 would like to have in 5v5s.
Not to mention the fact that now they have that Soul Point, so the next fights, if they are going to be extended, like FearX have been looking toward, it's going to be even worse because it's an Ocean Soul coming on through at the same time. Diablo very, very close to item number 3 as well on this Ezreal. Obviously, that means Ruler is also approaching more relevance in this game, but I think will require some armor penetration to really be able to put any damage into Clear in this game.
2-item spike here for Kellen as well. That makes this comp so much stronger. It's part of the whole thing that they're trying to set up here with this Xin Zhao frontline with the Cassante.
All right, Equalizer does get Diablo out of there. There is a Tempered Fate on the turret, but they decide not to go any further because the turret is just going to get taken down after it does come out of stasis.
Diablo took a lot of damage. I think they should just back away. There's no dragon to fight for.
Yeah, we're fighting for not a lot of anything at all, as Chovy's just going to get snared up, has to flash out of the Encore as Diablo is tanking up that turret. Meanwhile, on the other side, it's Canyon looking for an Impale, but he's disconnected. That was a very weird engage choice here for Gen G, fighting on multiple fronts.
The ENK are just running circles around Gen G in team fights, and what was that? They end up getting the turret, but there's only the fight for BNK kind of keeping them honest, as Chovy gets caught, has to flash, and then Canyon's looking for the re-engage on the other side, and they'll say thanks for the freebie.
Yeah, and if Chovy has to flash like that, you really can't be going in as Canyon looking for these Impales because there just isn't enough damage with Ruler alone when that does happen, so a little bit awkward. Keen, I believe, didn't have the Equalizer for that moment either, which makes it so hard as Diablo looking for Duro, doesn't find that last Mystic Shot, is now Ruler able to keep them at arm's length, and Raptor looking for that Cupcake. And it's not the one you really want to be eating right now. As the Cosmic Binding is good onto Clear, but he's pretty tanky. And so he should be able to get out of there even with the slow. If he does get out, Pathmaker is there. As Gen G now able to walk up this river and look at getting some Baron vision.
Vikla has TP. He's got to be getting close to death cap. If he could maybe clear this wave, go back by and TP in. Challenging this would feel great, but not going to have enough time. They are very late to come over here and deny this Baron. I think they have wind of the idea, but they're so far away.
There's so much Baron damage, man. This is ridiculous. I mean, it's Leandri's Keen, and it's just gone.
Yeah, just gone. So much damage.
All right, well, it's highway robbery, but when you're in and out that quickly, I mean, you can't really blame him. Really nicely done by Gen G.
Delayed a little bit here, but Gen G are going to feel great about this. It's going to give us so much sieging power in this game, which has kind of been where they've been failing a little bit of setting up prio and have overextended or just not been able to get really relevant structural damage done. If you look at the inner turrets, despite a 4,000 gold lead here at 27, there's one plate down on the bottom lane. They haven't really been able to get past the outers on the map. 1 minute until this dragon spawns. I think BNK may have to just simply give this up unless Duro gives them a bit of a donation here. And
I mean, you
see how they want to play it, because they will take some time to push these waves out.
And also, if they do challenge, it means that Gen G won't be able to spend that time in side lanes to make use of this Baron, right? So in 50 seconds time, if they can force Gen G into the river, and then if FearX can continue fighting as well as they have been, then I think you're getting double victories.
Chovy is still down Flash, and that is, you know, he's still Azir, but that's the scary thing with how BNK have been able to play this like a pick comp. Vikla's going to get that death cap and TPN. They want to make a stand on this.
Well, there is that teleport, but he is only onto the inner turret. It's not a flanking Mel or anything like that, which I think we're probably happy with. As Duro pretty far up here, tagged by a couple of Mystic shots, as we can see, as Canyon avoids that Q.
Really high value controller there that Canyon is trying to clear right now. That gives BNK the information that he's on that flank, so they're not going to get caught by an Impale. No equalizer just yet for Keen. He's level 16. He is so massive.
Yeah. And there it is. My goodness, that's a lot of damage. There's the equalizer going down right now as the Tempered Fate is going to collect one of them. It's only on to Raptor, who's down to 50%. Might need to ulti pretty soon here as these Sand Soldiers are doing so much work and the fight hasn't even really broken off yet. As there's a snare onto Chovy. Clear finally with Q. He flashes in. The Encore is fantastic as well, but they take down the Cassante. Vikla going down so low, just a rock is enough to take him down. They kill the Azir, but it looks like everyone else is dead. Diablo against the world, and Ruler, yeah, he's got a sniper rifle. I don't think that little bow and arrow is going to do anything at all, even if it's arcane powered. As Gen G, they are going to get the ace, and they can take the Drake if they want, or they might just wander up mid lane.
I think they're going to get a lot of damage done while taking the Dragon, because they still got 30 seconds left on this Baron. They're going to split Keen bottom lane here and then push the mid turret. I have to, we screamed his name, we popped off about it. They're super far behind in this game. A lot of health bars were burned down, but Clear's play onto Chovy here with the flash after the Q3 hits. I mean, they know their target. They know Chovy doesn't have flash. Ruler's playing so far back. If they can kill Chovy in this moment, it's a winnable team fight. The Seraphine ultimate is layered on top. The communication in this fight for BNK is phenomenal. They all are on the same page, but there's a 2,700 gold ahead Rumble that's kind of printed money.
Yeah.
It's like, who would win? An insane engage onto Chovy with no flash, or Rumble goes brrr. And then Ruler goes brrr.
The Rumble certainly was doing a bunch of work, but also like Canyon just beelining at Vikla as well. He was the only one that he impaled, but it meant that Vikla wasn't able to get the damage done in the fight as much as he would have otherwise liked. And Raptor was already poked down so much. This is the problem, is the fact that FearX went into that fight with a collective 50% health. And that is not really what you want to be doing when you're the one that wants to be dishing that out, right? Like, you want to have Kellen there healing you up so that you're always very, very healthy. Instead, Gen G gets their second Ocean Dragon, as well as winning the fight considerably in an 8,000 gold lead now. I mean, just drop the wallets on them, I think, is going to be the strategy here for Gen G at this point.
Yeah, they don't have Baron buff anymore, and the base is still up. The problem is, like you say, the money is the problem.
Well, Equalizer goes down. That is another Tempered Fate to pick off Raptor, who does get cosmically bound, does have to ulti pretty early on in this exchange.
There's so much poke in this comp for BNK, but also pick.
Yeah, Chovy looking for a bit of an angle here, just some Conquering Sands value towards FearX. Not overextending. Mini ARAM now being set up.
Vikla?
Rebuttal comes in, and Canyon gets the double impale. Vikla is obliterated, and Kellen follows through the 3-man Empress Divide as Chovy is just moving to the top of the mad movie as Gen G look to put a stamp on their first 2-0 of LCK 2026.
Pretty one-sided win here for Gen G, but man, BNK made it interesting. It did not feel like there was an 8,000 gold deficit on their side until Chovy gets in there. The Empress Divide that finally hits, that finally is the impact he was looking for on this Azir, but his poke damage was felt. Keen's blasting damage to these team fights was felt.
And Chovy still did so much damage in that fight as well. The Empress Divide value was massive. Eventually died to a Vikla ultimate, but Vikla was busy dying at the whole time anyway.
Watch this from Chovy. Like the damage that's about to come through here. Look at this.
Yeah,
actually insane.
It was mainly just poke from like a Q and some Sand Soldier autos. And then Canyon's like, I'm just going to do a bit of a drive-by.
The rebuttal was used early, and then Chovy's just like, I guess we clean house.
Yep. And Clear mitigates some CC, but cannot mitigate death. Really beautifully played.
It was a fun stomp because it was arguably not a stomp in some senses. In terms of the numbers, it was a stomp. But like Diablo out damages Ruler because he's got the range advantage with his Q. Like he can kind of chip away. Vikla makes a really good game happen here. Clear's flash ult onto Chovy was cool, even though it didn't win. BNK really were not going to give up in this one.
I really felt like it wasn't like a BNK, like a FearX collapse in this game. Right? Like that's not what it looked like to me. It looked like Gen G just being a better team, but it was hard fought as, oh my
Thinking man voters.
Thinking man voters indeed, as his Scion was absolutely incredible, and his Rumble also, the classic money print to the first one to play it, and he's going to pick up a POM for it. I think it's probably just going to head back to the ban list for the remainder of the year. Maybe there's